Now, having discussed what research-based teaching means and how it could be implemented, I'd like you to pause this video and write down possible ways in which you could engage students from the discipline of your expertise. Also note down the problems you encounter while doing this. I believe that you managed to find some ways of engaging learners in research-based learning. Now let us move to the next practice, that is project-based learning. Before that, I'd like you to watch the next video and note down the key expressions associated with project-based learning.
So there are a lot of different ways to approach PBL, a lot of different ways to implement it, but really it all boils down to 5 essential keys: real-world connection, core to learning, structured collaboration, student-driven, and multifaceted assessment. The first key component of PBL is real-world connections. And really what this entails is having an authentic problem that drives the curriculum. So students are given this question, for example, what's in our water and how did it get there? And then the students choose different paths to explore that question.
One of the problems in the ocean is that with the higher amount of CO2, calcifying organisms are decreasing. We're testing to see how well life in the ocean lives without calcifying organisms.
When the students know that what they're doing in a classroom has an audience outside the classroom, it really helps them deepen their thinking on it. I think that is pretty authentic in terms of what the future work world holds.
So the second commonality is the PBL unit provides academic rigor. This is not something that teachers would add at the end of a unit because they learned all the content they're supposed to learn already, and so this is, the fluff that they can do at the end. This is the unit. This is the way that they learn the content.
So what's your standards you're going to be covering?
We're going to do 5A, which is analyzing scenes, and this is huge in this book.
When you can show that you're incorporating the standards, building these projects that aren't fluffed, a lot of eyes and ears open, because people are hungry for that.
Structured collaboration refers to allowing the students to work together, but giving them a structure within which to work.
Our project was to create a aquaponics system, and we had several people working on it. In my case, I was kind of the team leader. 2 members of my group who are kind of just like the thinkers that would think, what if we could include this? Once those 2 came up with the ideas, it would go through another person who was kind of like the designer to figure out, oh, how would we make it? And then it would kind of go up to me and say, and I would kind of be like the final decider.
We would never put 4 kids together at a table and say, here's a task, get it done during this time period. It's very carefully scaffolded.
There's an interesting shift in roles that happens in a PBL unit. The teacher becomes more of a facilitator, and the students take more control.
You guys are the Red Cross responders. You already looked at news broadcasts, and you took down some notices and wonderings. You need to take all of this, and you need to bring it together.
So I have to write down the aspects of the news broadcast.
You got it, exactly. So Qasim's got it. Qasim can give you some ideas on how to start.
But as a facilitator, the teacher needs to be able to ask good questions. She needs to redirect if necessary, give hints but not answers. And that's really an interesting role for teachers to learn how to do. Multifaceted assessment refers to assessment being integrated throughout the entire PBL unit.
I do a lot of formative assessments. It's not a test at the end of the week or the end of a unit. You're doing a lot of small check-ins with the students to see where they're at and to see that they're growing along. I think it's really important to also make sure that the students are assessing themselves.
It's a process that we are really trying to bring back again to the student so that kids are part of the assessment process and that assessment is just not being done to them.
I'm sure that you must have noticed quite a few eye-catching phrases or expressions associated with project-based learning in this video. Let us enumerate these. You must have heard terms like limited in scope and duration, or project is or offers good ways for students to work with content they have already learned. It offers learning through the project. It addresses real world problem. It has a driving question. There is a voice and choice of students. It allows students to gain ownership. Students are able to collaborate in the process of sustained inquiry. There is a scope for reflection on students' learning, revising their work based on those reflections. Audience beyond the classroom are the target of project-based learning, and higher engagement and deeper content knowledge. It is with these key expressions that we will now approach project-based learning. Project-based learning is a student-centered pedagogy that involves a dynamic classroom approach in which it is believed that students acquire a deeper knowledge through active exploration of real-world challenges and problems. Students learn about a subject by working for an extended period of time to investigate and respond to a complex question, challenge, or problem. According to Thomas Markham, project-based learning integrates knowing and doing, that is, knowledge and application. One of the main goals in education is to help students not only reach their full potential academically, but to teach them how to be good citizens in their communities, countries, and in the world. To accomplish this in a classroom project-based learning could prove beneficial. Ellis and Stuen suggest a theme-based approach where all subjects are centered around a central theme. Project-based learning is a good example of a transdisciplinary approach. The theme in a project-based learning unit might be, let's say, a beachside or roadside waste management. In this service learning type project, students would need to use academic and social skills, among others, to plan and present a new design. Meanwhile, they would be implementing these skills in an authentic real life situation that will have real results, and afterwards would reflect on the process and the effect of their work. In this type of work, students are the producers of knowledge rather than consumers of it. They see a problem, think of a solution, and produce the work involved to make that solution happen. Blumenfeld and others elaborate on the process of project-based learning. Project-based learning is a comprehensive perspective focused on teaching by engaging students in investigation. Within this framework, students pursue solutions to non-trivial problems by asking and refining questions, debating ideas, making predictions, designing plans and or experiments, collecting and analyzing data, drawing conclusions, communicating their ideas and findings to others, asking new questions, creating artifacts. The basis of project-based learning lies in the authenticity or real life application of the research. Students working as a team are given a driving question to respond to or answer, then directed to create an artifact or artifacts to present their gained knowledge. It is these principles of project based or problem based learning that connect it to transdisciplinary development. Having discussed what project based learning or problem based learning means and how it could be implemented, I'd like you to pause this video and write down possible ways in which you could engage your students in project based learning with the goal of developing transdisciplinary research approach. Also note down the problems you encounter while doing this. So the ongoing discussion on the research based teaching and project or problem based learning shows that these can contribute to developing collaborative skills needed for transdisciplinary research development. Well, now it's time to wind up our discussion. So let us see what exactly we have done throughout our discussion on this module. Our discussion on the concept of inter, multi and transdisciplinary approach to research in higher education shows that there is a tendency to use these terms indiscriminately, which is quite misleading. These concepts are interrelated but not interchangeable. Then we explored the notion of transdisciplinary approach to research and its significance in the changing paradigm of research in higher education. We further discussed the need for research collaboration and cooperation. Then we discussed the nature of research attitude and aptitude needed in transdisciplinary research development. In our discussion, we noticed that the transdisciplinary research, we need to develop certain research attitude and aptitude among students. Then we looked at need for the research based teaching at the undergraduate and postgraduate level in order to inculcate the value of transdisciplinary research. We further observed that project based learning and problem based learning too contribute in orienting young researchers to develop a holistic perspective and encourage them to engage in transdisciplinary research. We arrived at a conclusion that transdisciplinary approach is going to be the new order and paradigm of research in higher education at national as well as international level, and we must gear up to develop collaborative skills in ourselves and researchers as well in our students as budding researchers.